Greetings, brothers and sisters. I'm Professor Spira, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the influence of celebrity in the plant-based movement toward mucusless diet. When I see things like celebrities really promoting veganism, and there's a lot of celebrities in PETA talking about stop slaughtering and harming animals and this kind of thing, in my eyes, it is a transition toward the mucusless diet. It's almost as if that has to happen first before a lot of people would be open enough to go down this path. Now, I've talked about this a lot, and for me, it's incredibly significant. But when you have the former president of the United States, Bill Clinton, who was known for being a overeater, always constantly made fun of for that, he recently was going through all kinds of issues and started to get into some vegan, plant-based detoxification. He talks about being influenced with the China study and this kind of stuff. And he lost a lot of weight, feels a lot better, looks better than he ever did. Now, I don't think that we should take that lightly, whether you like his politics or dislike it, whatever. That's not what I'm into. But to have somebody of that stature, former president of the United States, the person that is supposed to hold the flag and salute to the United States of pus and mucus. Don't take offense to that. I'm just saying, it's you're not supposed to have a former president that's trying to get himself together on a plant-based level. Saw what happened with Oprah when Oprah, she wasn't even going vegan. She just made a comment about beef, and beef industry took her to court, and they knew they weren't going to win, but it was almost as if to say, watch out to other celebrities. If we can take Oprah down and force her to come down here, what do you think we'd do to you? But now here comes someone like Bill Clinton. What you gonna do to Bill Clinton? Let's see the cattle people take him. And he didn't say anything. He just basically politically astute when he talks about it. He just says, look, this is what I got into. I got off of meat, got off a lot of this other stuff, occasionally eat some pus or whatever, but on a transition. And now there's a lot of different celebrities that are popping up that have been getting into plant-based lifestyles. A lot of them keep it quiet. Some of them become activists and are more vocal. And in a society where people are so profoundly influenced by the media, by celebrities, it is a good thing, I think, to see people become more aware. Because like I said, over the past 5 years, I've seen a total shift. There's been a huge shift toward plant-based living, where now to be vegan is no longer like this big deal. Where 10 years ago, you talk about just vegetarianism, and it was like you said something sacrilegious. But now it's more in the mainstream. And my opinion is that before people, in terms of the masses, before people can really get down with the mucusless diet, they're almost going to have to go through these lower levels through the vegetarian phase and vegan phase. It's almost like society is transitioning and they don't even know it. Because to have this conversation that we're having right now, 10 years ago, would have just been the most bizarro outside thing. It still is for some people, but there's so many more people that are open to it. They're prepared to let's have a conversation about plant-based. There's thousands, probably millions of people. I mean, there's more plant-based eaters probably than anything else, perhaps. I don't know, I better not have to get, it's hard to prove or disprove that kind of thing. But historically, there's been more plant-based, and humans have been plant-based much longer than we've been meat eaters. That's provable, that's been proven. But either way, I'm seeing the transition. Society is slowly transitioning. As Brother Air said before, it's almost as if we have to come through the back door. So people get interested in the environment and get interested in saving animals. And then health tends to be way down on the list, but they eventually get there. Because you can't talk about going green if you're still sucking on a chicken wing. You can't talk about being clean while you're trying to wipe barbecue sauce off your lip. You know, so, but the consciousness is rising because you're getting people that's like, well, I don't have to eat at restaurants. And if I do, I don't have to eat pus. I can have a salad. I can eat some fruit. I can go down to a wholesaler and buy a box of fruit. It's not even that big a deal. So I'm so happy to see the transition on and keep it up. Now is the time for us to really dig deep, get deep, and transition. Really get into the mucusless diet. Go periods of time being totally mucusless. Don't do anything radical. You don't have to make these big strides, or don't try to do these long fasts like Brother Air, myself, or you don't have to do all that. Just transition. Just want to change. Just want to get cleaner. Just understand that it makes sense to not eat snot producing food. It just makes sense. You don't have to read books on that. Just hear it. It makes sense. Don't eat pus and mucus forming foods. And once you have the desire to become mucusless, and you feel that, because it's really almost something that you feel. When you hear it, it's like, it makes sense. For those of us that get it, it just makes sense. So once you have the desire, that's when it's time to transition. It's time to study. It's time to, eat a vegetarian meal if you need to. Eat a mucus lean meal. Eat a cooked meal. But keep the transition going. And eventually you can go from being mucusless 2 days a week to being mucusless 2 weeks a month, to being mucusless 2 months out of the year, to being mucusless 2 years out of 5 years, to the point where you become mucusless. And that, to me, is the great goal. That is the top of the mountain. Can you be mucusless? Can you eat no mucus-forming foods? And when you get to that level, it's gonna be a raw. Because I know there's a lot of folks that's interested in the raw piece. And my message is that you need to maybe adjust your goals so that when you get to the higher levels of getting into your fruit fasting or your whatever, you're mucusless. So you don't want to be raw and eating a whole bunch of mucus forming things. You want to, when you get to that level of, okay, I'm raw, be raw and mucusless. And if you're not quite there yet, you might have to take that step back and be mucusless, yet it's cooked in mucusless. Because in my opinion, cooked mucus-free is better than raw mucus forming. Now, I'm the first person you probably heard say that, if those of you that really follow the raw foods kind of movement and stuff. I'm saying that cooked, and anytime when I say cooked, you always have raw in there. Raw combination salad is the foundation of every vegetable meal. But I would rather see people have some steamed vegetables on their salad than to get strung out on the avocados, get strung out on the nuts and the seeds and that kind of stuff just because they're raw. You know, now this is just a mucus-free paradigm, because on the mucusless diet, the goal is to get beyond even what most raw foodists aspire to. We're trying to get beyond that because we want to be mucusless, because the foundation of disease is not inherently cooked foods. The foundation of disease is pus and mucus forming foods. Cooked or raw, pus and mucus forming foods. So for those aspiring to the mucus-free levels, we almost have to think a little bit differently, because once you get to those mucus-free levels, you're not running off of that stimulant. Like Brother Air said before, he could do raw foodism standing on his head because you're dealing with a lot of the stimulating kinds of foods. You know, our avocado is stimulating, nuts are stimulating, and I know there's other things that I don't even really know about that raw foodists will kind of get into and stuff. So, like I always say, I love to see it. I love seeing folks raw. I love seeing people vegan. You know, I love people aspiring to be fruitarians. I love all of those levels. All of those levels are within the context of the Mucusless Diet Healing System. Yet what I don't like to see is people fall off because they didn't transition properly. So I really encourage you to understand the transition and don't feel bad if you need to take a step back. And when you take a step back, be informed about what you're stepping back into. And that's the key. So if you get nothing else from me than that positive reinforcement of, if you have to take a step back, don't be hard on yourself, don't feel guilty, take the step back, but have a plan and have a goal of where you're trying to get to. And if you stay focused on that goal, you can achieve it. Visualize yourself mucus-free. You know, think about that. You know, I think about that a lot. You know, but before I did long fast, I imagined that I could do it. I imagined myself fasting. I imagined myself getting over a lot of the ailments. I imagined myself losing 110 pounds before it happened. So there's a lot of power in just projecting out what it is you want. What is it that you want? And the catch is that you have to want something that is plausible within the context of natural law. So the problem is, there's a lot of people that want superior health, but they also want to eat pus and mucus. And you can do that for a while. There's a lot of folks that eat that way, and they appear to be healthy and running around, and they're playing sports and professional sport, all this kind of stuff. But you can only run an engine on that high octane type of stuff for so long, the human engine, that is. And so my proposition is that we all need to slow down, take some deep breaths, and really focus on trying to get ourselves together. And when I say that all the time, what I mean by getting ourselves together is cleaning ourselves up to the point where we can sustain higher levels of a mucus-free diet. Because that's what's natural for humans. And until we can return back to nature, we're going to suffer. We're going to suffer the consequences of divorcing ourselves from Mother Nature. And the consequences are dire. And we have to understand when we go through the consequences that that's what they are. Even for those of us that practice a diet, as we go through various eliminations, sometimes we can run into issues that take a long time to heal, because they're acute illnesses or chronic illnesses or latent illnesses. Not the acute, but the latent illnesses. Some people call it genetic weaknesses. I call it inherited weaknesses. But we have to pay reparations for divorcing ourselves from nature for so long. So don't need to get mad, need to be sad. We just need to get serious, get mucusless, and get ourselves together. Thank you for watching. Peace, love, and breath.